Hi everyone, welcome to Pendulum Friday here at Soulprint. Thank you so very, very much for being here. We have some really interesting questions today, so I'm not gonna drag this out too long. I do want to say welcome to my new subscribers. Thank you very much for being here. My established subscribers, I adore you. Without you, I wouldn't be here doing this, particularly on Pendulum Friday, because you're the ones that supply the questions. So very much appreciate your contributions to this channel. Um, Joyce collected all the questions today, so thank you, Joyce. Just quickly before I get started, for those of you who may not have heard, um, Poland has, I'm not sure what the word is, enacted Article 4. Now, this has to do with the fact that Russia was flying their drones, um, over Poland, which would be considered, sort of like an invasion. Um, so, Article 4 is about calling together allied nations to have a meeting so that the next steps can be determined. Now, the logical next step in our heads is, well, Article 5. But it's important to remember that Article 5 has only been used once. And when was that? Yes, it was September 11th, which ironically is today. I'm recording this, of course, on Thursday, um, when the United States was attacked. Now, the other interesting thing, though, is that apparently, even when Article 5 is activated, it's written in such a way so that each allied country has sort of the choice of if they want to come to the aid, and if so, what that looks like and what they are or are not going to contribute. Like it's not necessarily, a call to arms across the world. This is not the beginning of World War III, okay? But I just wanted to get that out there because that's going to be really interesting to follow. The other thing that's really, really interesting is a Bloomberg this morning released somewhere between 10,000 and 18,000 of Epstein's emails. And there were spreadsheets, there was documentation of what gifts were given to which clients, which gifts were given to victims. Um, you know, Fascinating, including I think I have it right. I think it was Alexis that Alan Dershowitz received. I guess that must have been one hell of a thank you. I'm not sure whether that had something to do with some legal matter that he might have been helping with or just because. I don't know. But wow, I don't know very many people who hand out Lexuses, but maybe just me. Maybe I'm hanging around with the right kind of people. I don't know. All right, let's get cracking here, shall we? Will Trump's Department of Justice figure out a way to ban transgender Americans from owning guns? Okay, so the side to side motion is that the pendulum is ready to talk. Pendulum, will Trump's Department of Justice find a way to ban guns from transgenders? That's a yes. Um, I'm just going to ask this follow up question. Will it ultimately be successful? No, but they're going to give it a good try, right? Because that's just what they seem to like to do. Will the Supreme Court be expanded after the 2028 elections? Um, okay, that's a fairly strong yes, but I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, 2028 is um a ways down the road, and in fact, the new government won't come in until early 2029. Um, we're only halfway through 2025. Follow my rambling here. It would surprise me, so I'm going to ask this question. Are all of the current members of the Supreme Court, all those justices, are they all going to still be on the bench January of 2029? That's a really big solid no. So you got to wonder um what that looks like, because unless something insane happens, which the Constitution doesn't really allow for, um, well, we're going to impeach you or get rid of you or you died, and so we're just going to do another election. The party in control stays in control. So the question's going to be, I guess, is after the midterms, um, are are there going to be enough Democrats to not allow this sort of pushing through of any more Republican judges, right? Let's ask that. Will Democrats be able to slow down the appointment of any new Republican judges to SCOTUS? Okay, that's a yes. That's good news. Will term limits be put in place for SCOTUS by the year 30? Sorry, that's really jumping things. 2032. That looks like a pretty solid yes. Will the Supreme Court code of ethics that exists be upheld? Um, Upheld is sort of a broad time frame, so I'm going to ask it this way. Um, in the next 10 years, is the Supreme Court code of ethics still going to be in place? Okay. But we know that there is no overriding agency that monitors it, right? So what you have is justices doing things that they really, really shouldn't be doing, like, accepting luxury gifts. Um, but they are able to say, I don't have to follow the ethics, basically. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. And if at some point there isn't like a regulatory agency that's put into place to actually monitor the justices of the Supreme Court. And that'll be a bit of a hard sell, right? Because they're sort of treated like, the highest of the high. But you're in a country that says no man is above against the law, or no man is above the law, kind of makes sense that somebody would be watching them. Is Stephen Miller the reincarnation of Nazi Joseph Goebbels? I think that's how you pronounce his name. Honestly, couldn't tell you. Yes, but it sort of took its time getting there, so that's interesting. Um, but right now, it's a yes. If Vance becomes president, will he choose Stephen Miller as his VP? That's a no. When JD takes the reins, will he keep the wackadoodle current cabinet? No, he will not keep it. Will he select his own? Yes. Is there any hope that he will pick experts in their fields? Um, I'm just going to reword that a little bit, because I think really the question boils down to, is he going to um, fill a cabinet with, thank you for supporting me, nominations? Okay, no. All right, so now let's find out. Is he likely to make selections where he's bringing back at least some experts, respected experts in the various cabinet positions? Okay, it's a small yes. I mean, I think the caveat is this, right? Um, one way or another, you know, they want experts that agree with their philosophies. So, um, while you may not end up with somebody as extreme as are currently in place, like Cash Patel and what's her face, Gnome, and God help you all, RFK. I think I got that right, RFK Jr. Um, but I wouldn't expect at this point, anyways, energetically, I wouldn't expect that that in some ways they'll really be considered that much better. Will the courts and Congress back Vance like they do Trump? That's a no. Will the Heritage Foundation choose the VP? Okay, now it's a yes, but what they're saying is choose isn't the right word. They will strongly recommend. Um, yeah. So yes, they're just, they're just playing semantics here a little bit. Is there already someone on the short list for the new VP? Are there any selections on that short list for a new VP? Yes, I reworded it because someone is singular and it was feeling like there were more than one on a short list. Okay, gotta hope I get this name right. Will Zorhan Mandani win the New York City mayor's race? Apparently, it's going to be quite the bumpy campaign energetically. So let's see. At this point, is the energy supporting his win for mayor of New York City? Okay, so right now the energy is supporting that. Um, and if he wins, will 45 attempt to take over New York City? Yeah. Didn't he already threaten to like deport this guy or something? Like he's really concerned about this guy getting in. So, do polls generally provide valuable information? Are all pollsters honest? Two-part question. Okay. This is the problem. I'm not even sure how I'm going to ask the question because this is the problem. I don't believe that there are any polls that are completely unbiased. Okay, like you have really well respected, pollsters or polls, but they lean right or they lean left. You don't get a whole lot of sitting in the center. And part of the way that works is simply by the way they ask questions. Um, and so the information that is gathered reflects the um, the people that are being polled. But again, generally speaking, the polled slant one way or the other. So I guess it's accurate. I guess it's accurate. Mm, given the inherent bias, do polls offer some information or guidance? Yes. Okay. Are all pollsters honest? Okay. All of them? That's going to be, well, a no, of course, because you just can't ask. If however many hundreds of pollsters there are in the country, um, a- are honest. So, and again, keep in mind what I've said, which is especially these days, the polls are becoming more and more um, partisan. My question is, will Netanyahu ever be condemned and tried for the bombings of other countries after claiming to go after Hamas? Okay, bottom line question. Is Netanyahu ever going to be held accountable for his uh for his actions? Okay, so most of you know now that when the pendulum just does that, where it just doesn't sort of respond, it means, generally speaking, one of two things. Either there isn't a clear cut answer at the moment, given the energy. Sometimes it's a sort of a none of your business kind of response if you're asking something that is, crossing a line, for example, of somebody's privacy, etc. Um, and sometimes it's just a matter of the way the question is worded or phrased. So, um, sorry, the reason I've kind of gone like blank is because what I'm getting really clearly is that, and please read between the lines here, people, is that there will come a time where he will face the ramifications of his actions, but that time may come um, in a past life or a review, right? Um, and that may not be as far away as people think. That's all I'm going to say because that's all I'm getting. Will Qatar ask for their plane back from Trump because of the monetary support to Israel? No. My understanding was that this was a plane that they've been trying to unload on somebody for a while. So um, it looks like no. I mean, why do they want it back if they've already um, finally gotten rid of it? Is Kim Jong Un alive? Okay, that's a yes. Um, are they using at times a body double? And that seems to be a yes. Mhm. Okay. Does Marco Rubio feel insulted by Trump choosing Steve Witkoff, whose background is in real estate, to act as special um, envoy to Russia and the Middle East? Is he jealous of Witkoff? Does he feel he's more qualified than Witkoff? Is the position of secretary in the position of Secretary of State, does Rubio feel he deserves to be and should be the one doing the job Witkoff was given? Okay, so those are the series of questions. Um, apparently, I'm going to try to condense this. Apparently, there had been a sort of quiet deal negotiated between Venezuela and Trump. Okay, like not even like the country, but Trump did this, and basically it boiled down to he wanted the people of Venezuela to stop buying so much stuff from China, and Venezuela wanted their people to be able to come into the United States for 90 days without having to go through a visa process. And somehow or another, that got agreed on. And so people were coming to the United States to actually sign a formal agreement. And uh, Christy Nome, there's sort of a certain set of things that she needed to do and take care of, and she did not, including letting Rubio know. That's how it ties in. So and apparently when she basically said, well, yeah, no, there isn't going to be like a signing ceremony like in public. Um, the representatives said, oh, okay, back on a plane and went straight back home. And that deal was never um, signed, basically. So the reason I'm rambling about this is because it feels like, in some ways, that Rubio, every time I see him, um, I can't help but think about the fact that his face almost always feels like he's in way over his head. And I don't know whether that is way over his head because he just doesn't have the experience or the knowledge, or it's way over his head because it's gone sliding around a corner that it never should have happened. Um, And so it's sort of putting him in like a bit of an uncomfortable position. Um, and that frankly, unfortunately, is balanced by his greed for power and position. So, okay, does Marco Rubio feel insulted because Trump chose Witkoff to act as special envoy to Russia in the Middle East? Is Rubio feel insulted? Okay, that's like a little no. I gotta tell you, energetically, it sort of feels like, phew, skate that one, as opposed to, that should be mine. He absolutely agrees that um he has more experience, or he should be in that position. Um, but was Rubio ever on sort of a short list for that position? No. And is that because, um, as of right now, whoever it is, the powers that be, want Rubio to stay in the current cabinet position of Secretary of State? Yes. Will 45 be charged with treason? I'm not getting any answer there at all. You know, sometimes clocks just run out of time. And at some point, it wouldn't be done um, after the fact of clocks winding down. It's Caroline Leavitt, pregnant. Okay. And then sort of the facetious part too of this is, or is she just indulging in too many burgers and fries with her boss? So I'm going to just switch that around a little bit and just ask if in fact there is a weight gain. Okay, and there is. And is that being created almost by like comfort eating comfort foods as a way to de-stress? Yes. As Barron dropped out of school, it was reported that he was attending a different NYU campus. Okay. Now, and Joyce has added that the source she found reported that he had moved back to the White House and was going to attend his second year of college in the DC campus of NYU. All right. Um, Rick, has Barron dropped out of school? Okay, no. Are there plans in place um, for him to further his education at some university? Yes. Is he currently attending classes at the New York City University located in New York City. Okay, that's a no. I mean, it's like we haven't even hit the middle of September yet. Like school should have just started. I guess we'll see how that unfolds. Where it is now obvious that 45 has lost sway with Putin and Netanyahu, will the Republicans, the non-MAGA ones, um, or those less inclined to be MAGA, are they going to be more likely to be concerned enough to take steps to remove him? Not right now. That's a no. Does Trump use a double regularly? No. Let me ask this: Does he actually have a double? Okay, that's a yes. Has 45 had multiple medical procedures? Okay, yes. That probably doesn't surprise anybody. Now, were they stents, angioplasty, fluid drainage? I don't even know what some of that means. Okay. Um, let's just ask, were there stents, angioplasty, fluid drainage? Was that a part of any of the medical procedures he's recently had? Yes. Did Bill Clinton go to Epstein's Island in the Virgin Islands while he was president? That looks like a no. Small no, but a no. Did Clinton ever go to Epstein's Island? Yes. Will the Epstein child survivors make public their own list of clients? Okay. That's a yes. It feels like if they are pushed, they will. Although it also feels that slowly but surely, a lot more information is coming out continually. Um, and it may very well be that a lot of that information ends up getting released before they officially or formally have to release something, but they're prepared to. Uh, will Putin release or leak the PP tape videos? No. Is that because he has more power or control over 45 simply by threatening to do so? It's a yes. Will Putin provide info proving how complicit 45 was in aiding Epstein's crimes? There's a no answer there. I'm going to ask this. Does Putin actually have information with regards to those two gentlemen, men, guys, males? Gentlemen is just so not the right word for them. People. I'm getting a yes, but I'm also getting a not all of it or not huge volumes of it. It feels as if what I'm being told is that what they have um, is information that was hacked. Okay, that's what I got told. Bloomberg News has published over 18,000 emails from Epstein's personal accounts. Will they contain any info that will incriminate 45 or any of Epstein's client list? Yes. In fact, even what has been released so far on Thursday, today, is already incriminating people to and including, or maybe most especially in some ways, Ghislaine Maxwell, because she did that whole, let me give testimony, because I want to get bent down to like such a low security jail facility that I'm not even supposed to be there because I'm like a sex offender, right? A child abuser. Um, but apparently there is a lot of communication back and forth. And she knew a whole lot about a whole lot. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. Is there going to be enough of a push to basically say she lied and she doesn't deserve sort of the perk that she's received? I think there is a feeling that part of what the attempt was to clean up her image, remove her from that inner circle so that she could then um, prop up 45. She could, be a positive witness for him. Sometimes you wonder how these people come up with these ideas that they think of. All right. Were the people on the alleged drug carrying aboard? Okay, I think this is about the ship that was. So were the people on that boat? I'm going to call it a boat. The alleged drug carrying board from Venezuela actually drug dealers? Okay, yes, but it doesn't feel like all of them. Next question is, were some or all of the members of the um, Venezuelan gang, okay, were some of those members on board that boat? Okay, yes. Was this purposely turned into a much bigger story than the amount of contraband warranted? So, see what I'm saying there? I'm asking if um, they made it a bigger story because then it made it more dangerous, and then they were really doing their level best to keep drugs out of America. Like, so was the situation amplified for PR reasons, basically. That's a yes. Will the demise of Charlie Kirk affect the Mango Man at all? Okay. I'm just gonna let's ask this. First of all, apparently Trump did get on TV yesterday and was praising this guy to high heaven. I'm surprised he didn't try to see if he could turn him into some sort of a saint. But I think that let's ask this. Was the murder of Charlie Kirk something that has impacted or triggered a fear response in 45? Yes. Will he use Kirk's death, or will Kirk's death give Trump a reason for declaring martial law? Okay, so it's like it's a really, really little sort of yes. What I'm getting is that it's being talked about. It's something he's thinking about, but it doesn't feel like he's going to be able to succeed. Will the person who murdered Charlie Kirk be found? Yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my words together here. Um, the Republicans are being very, very quick to blame the Democrat for this. Is that accurate? As in, are they right to blame the Democrats? No. Alrighty. Thank you so much for being here. Really amazing and interesting questions this week. Thank you so, so much. You guys come up with the most amazing questions. Thank you very much for being here. It's the weekend. Do something nice for yourself and someone else. And until next time, take care and be well. Bye for now.